Welcome to Bloomberg Law. I'm Lee Pacchia. James Bacchus is the co-chair of the Global Practice Group at law firm Greenberg Traurig. He's also a former chief judge of the World Trade Organization. He joins me now. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. It's good to be here.
So, when we talk about U.S. trade policy, I think it's important also to talk about the jobs picture. Given the emphasis from the federal government in creating jobs or trying to create jobs, how can they use U.S. trade policy to further that agenda?
We need more market access. It's not enough just to talk about promoting exports and give speeches about it. It's not enough just to talk about exports. We need to consider imports and exports all together as a part of trade.
That's an interesting point. In the political rhetoric, we're always talking about exports, but not so much on imports. Why has imports, or why has the topic of imports been avoided so much?
Politically, imports are a dirty word because the fear is that imports are going to lead to a loss of jobs here at home. But any economist would tell you, Adam Smith, David Ricardo, anyone here and now would tell you that the reason to trade is to import, to get things from somewhere else and from someone else cheaper than it would cost us to make them for ourselves. This is true whether we're trading with our neighbor down the street or someone on the other far side of the world. The need is to focus on trade overall and understand that lowering barriers to trade overall helps further a global division of labor that maximizes the potential for prosperity for everyone everywhere, including here.
Right. Just looking at this picture over the last 2 years, a lot has been thrown at the problem of unemployment. As we go forward, do you expect the opposite approach, tariffs, that is, something that people of my generation haven't really seen or heard or known? Do you think that that whole notion is going to raise its head?
I'm concerned that if our concerns continue about the precarious and fragile state of our economic recovery, that we may see a retreat from trade and a turning inward by the United States away from trade and from a more open world economy. If the United States did that, then other countries would emulate us, and this would be disastrous. This would truly lead to a depression. Interestingly, for all of our efforts in the past couple of years, very little has been done about trade. And despite that, most of the jobs that have been created in the United States in the private sector over the past couple of years of our slow recovery have been because of exports. The President's right to have as a goal doubling exports between now and 2015. He wants to create 2 million new jobs by doing that. But he can't do that just by focusing on export promotion. And right now, exports are in trouble. The latest numbers show that there was a 2% decline in exports from May to June.
Right.
Our trade deficit on a monthly basis has increased from $50 to $53 billion. Overall, exports are still up in the past year by 16%, but they're not up enough. And it's not enough simply to promote exports and have cheerleading about the need for more exports. We have to understand a basic fact. That fact is that 4% of the people in the world are Americans, and this means that 96% are not. It means also that 96% of our potential customers are somewhere else. They're overseas. So we have to trade with them, and we haven't done a very good job of promoting trade as our first recourse in the United States instead of as a last resort, nor have we focused on what we need to focus on in building a trade policy, which is opening up markets abroad, opening up more market access for U.S. goods and services where we have a comparative advantage in the world.
Congress is going to return to session in September, and they have the opportunity at least to pick up 3 free trade agreements, one with South Korea, one with Colombia, one with Panama. Any likelihood of these getting through?
I think that the Korean agreement, the Colombian agreement, and the Panamanian agreement will all be passed this fall. I also think they should have been passed 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, and certainly in July before the Congress went on recess. There's no excuse for the fact that they have not been approved already. While we have
Is it just a matter of focus, or do you think there's a substantive reason why
it's been a matter of partisan politics? Meantime, Canada has just seen a free trade agreement with Colombia go into effect. So they have an advantage over us now in terms of trade they did not have before. China and Colombia are working together on a joint venture where the Chinese will build a railroad from the Pacific to the Caribbean so that they can ship Colombian goods to China, and so that the Chinese will have more access to the Atlantic Ocean and to U.S. and North American markets.
Interesting.
We don't have the luxury of these partisan political indulgences that are keeping us from moving forward on trade. And the FTAs are just the first step. We need to do much more than just conclude these long pending 3 free trade agreements. We need a new understanding on trade with China. We need to get over the fact that we can't even talk about NAFTA in our politics in either party. 30% of our trade is with Canada and Mexico. We should be trying to build on NAFTA to create more regional economic integration so that we could create more jobs in all 3 NAFTA countries going forward by being more competitive with China and others elsewhere in the world. And we need to get serious, especially and above all and right now, about global trade negotiations. The Doha Round has been an impasse for about a decade now. That's where the big bang for the buck is in trade, and we are doing nothing, absolutely nothing, to further the successful conclusion of the Doha Round.
Do you think that there's any hope of coming to some reasonable resolution in the Doha Round, or is it just a non-starter?
I would be the last person to say there's no hope. I have WTO written on my forehead, for better or worse. I spent nearly a decade there as a judge.
It has been
and as
in
a chief
negotiations
judge.
for 10 years, though.
And I've also been a trade negotiator for this country and have voted on trade agreements when I was a member of the Congress. I can see this from a number of sides. But I can also see that our compelling, singular, national economic interest is in lowering barriers to trade worldwide. The United States remains by far the biggest trading nation in the world. We have, therefore, by far the biggest interest of any nation in the world in lowering barriers to trade worldwide. We have goods and services that are competitive worldwide. We face market access barriers, trade barriers of all kinds, tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers that need to be knocked away. The only way to do that is to push forward globally, because a global deal will lower barriers worldwide and not just on the piecemeal, fragmented basis that free trade agreements do between 2 or 3 countries.
I want to pick up on NAFTA. Howard Pastor passed away last week. He was instrumental in pushing through the North American Free Trade Agreement, known as NAFTA. Tell me about him and his role in passing the act.
Now, Howard Pastor was a very good man and a friend of mine, and he was instrumental on behalf of the Clinton administration in pushing through that agreement in the early 90s. He'll be missed. We need some more people like Howard. And he was right at the time that created more opportunities for all Americans. The notion that NAFTA has been a failure is a political mythology that is now taken as gospel in both political parties. It bears no relationship whatsoever to the reality of what NAFTA has done for the United States, Mexico, and Canada alike. Ironically, this agreement that's done so much for all 3 NAFTA countries is unpopular in each one of them. What we really need to do is come together as NAFTA countries and work together across national lines to lower the remaining barriers to trade among us and create more economies of scale, create more efficiencies so that together and working together we can be more competitive with the rest of the world. That way we can create and keep more jobs in the United States, Canada, and Mexico alike. And it puzzles me that we don't even talk about trade with Mexico and Canada anymore, even though together they account for 30% of all our trade.
Right. In your opinion, NAFTA has almost this political legacy of almost being a weapon for either side to use for political purposes. Has NAFTA stood in the way of more free trade on a global scale?
I think that the political fallout from NAFTA makes it harder to fight for freer trade politically in the United States. But we need to rise above our political liabilities and be truthful with the American people. The President of the United States needs to be a much stronger advocate than he has been thus far for trade, not just for exports, but for trade. He's the only one who's elected by the whole country. He's the only one who understands that the country as a whole is going to continue to benefit, and benefit enormously, if we continue to lower barriers to trade, as we've done successfully since World War II. That has added trillions of dollars to our economy. It's added tens upon tens of thousands of dollars to our net worth and our income as individuals. Continuing to lower barriers to trade worldwide can continue to improve our standard of living. If we deny ourselves the benefits of trade by erecting barriers to trade in this country, we become less competitive. How in the world can we compete with people if we won't trade with them? Mm-hmm. How in the world can we be competitive if we refuse to compete? We Americans talk a good game. We say that we can compete with anyone. If we refuse to do so, then how are we going to be successful? How will we be able to improve our productivity, which is the key to increasing our standard of living, if we deny ourselves the benefits and the challenges of international trade?
Jim, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure. Anytime.
That's Jim Bacchus. He's the co-chair of the Global Practice Group at law firm Greenberg Traurig. He's based in Washington, D.C. If you'd like to learn more about this issue, go check out our Antitrust and Trade Law Report. It's available on BloombergLaw.com, and it's also on the Bloomberg Terminal. I'm Pacchia. Thanks for watching.